And next up, we're going to take a look at the Minnesota Vikings San Francisco game. This is a Sunday 3:25 game on Fox. Minnesota Vikings will travel to San Francisco to take on the 5-5 San Francisco 49ers, who are 3-point favorites at home in this matchup. Okay, this is a good one. I am so excited about this. We have a lot of good games this week. I mean, I'm recording this. It's on Thursday, Thanksgiving. We have some great Thanksgiving games. Great Thanksgiving meals coming up as well. But going into Sunday, we have a lot of great games coming forward. And I mean, obviously you have games like right here, Houston and Jets. I mean, no one's going to watch that when you have all these incredible games going on. But you always got the bad teams. You can put Houston Jets is better than watching. I guess even any team can be any team. But as a whole, these upcoming week looks very good, and it's a great slate of games. Minnesota Vikings, San Francisco 49ers are both 5-5 and playing for a wild card spot in the playoffs right now. Vikings, you can say they're playing for the division, but they're really not. They're playing for that wild card spot. Green Bay Packers have an easy schedule coming forward. Both teams playing for that wild card spot. Whoever wins this game will move into the picture, and whoever loses will lose out if Saints win tonight. But as a whole, Minnesota Vikings traveling to San Francisco. This is a good game. If there are two teams in the NFL who you don't want to play right now, it is the San Francisco 49ers and the Minnesota Vikings. Two red hot teams in the NFL. San Francisco 49ers just beat the Bills 2 weeks ago. I believe it was 31-10. Was it the Bills? Do I have that right? I might have that wrong. No, it was the Rams. Okay, I thought I had that wrong. They beat the Rams 31-10 on Monday Night Football. I don't know how I forgot about that. They beat the Rams, their division rival, 31-10 on Monday Night Football. They also are coming off of a 30-10 win against the Jags. I know it's the Jags, but you beat the Jags 30-10. You are looking hot. And they looked good in that game. Deebo Samuel is lighting up defenses, just the way Justin Jefferson is. But you know who's also a hot team right now? The Minnesota Vikings, who are coming off of two excellent wins against the Green Bay Packers at home, winning on a game-winning field goal by Greg Joseph. Thank you, Greg Joseph, for finally being a Vikings kicker who can make a game-winning kick. That's not against the Detroit Lions. And then also we have, of course, our game that we won against the LA Chargers. So two playoff teams we beat in a row. Both teams are hot right now, and two teams you don't want to face in the NFL. If I were to name two teams, it'd be Minnesota Vikings, San Francisco 49ers. I mean, Patriots are hot right now too, but you don't want to play these teams as they are hitting stride. The last times we played the San Francisco 49ers was the playoff game, and didn't go so well. If you Vikings fans remember, the Minnesota Vikings played the San Francisco 49ers in the divisional round of the playoffs, where they lost 27-10. But as a whole, this Vikings history with the 49ers have been back and forth. I mean, 23-24-1. So San Francisco 49ers have one game above us. If we win this game, it'll tie it up, and the history will be tied up with the San Francisco 49ers, who have been consistently a better team than the Vikings. When you're looking at their history as a whole, Vikings have beat the 49ers. I believe the biggest upset in history was when the Vikings beat the 49ers in the playoffs, when they were one of the best teams in the NFL. That was when they had Joe Montana, Steve Young, before my time, but obviously, I know about that game, the biggest upset in NFL history. But now taking a look at the Vikings Wednesday injury report, if I can find this. Nope, that was already what we went over. Okay, Vikings Wednesday injury report. COVID continues to run through our locker room. As expected, as the Vikings are the most unvaccinated team in the NFL, COVID continues to ruin our week in and week out. Dalvin Tomlinson has now tested positive and was ruled out in this upcoming game. Josh Metellus is still also on the COVID reserve list. Now, it's pretty interesting who's going to target, who's going to start at the 3-tech position over Dalvin Tomlinson, as Dalvin Tomlinson will be out. It's James Lynch. Sheldon Richardson. I'm going to make my prediction right now. I think Sheldon Richardson's going to start at defensive end. I believe Everson Griffin won't play in this upcoming game, obviously with the situation going on. Hope he's doing well. But with DJ Wanham and Sheldon Richardson starting on the outside, as Sheldon Richardson played as a defensive end in college, I believe they will play at the defensive end position with James Lynch and Armon Watts as our inside defensive linemen. Wyatt Davis also did not participate in Wednesday's practice with an ankle injury. Wyatt Davis, backup right guard, likely wouldn't play anyways. I still hope he can take Oli Udoh's job, as I think Oli Udoh has been the most overrated player on this Vikings team so far with 10 plus penalties. Still, I would rather see him start than Wyatt Davis right now, as Wyatt Davis is a rookie 3rd-round pick. Bashaud Breeland was also a limited participant during Wednesday's practice with a groin injury. Anthony Barr, once again, a limited participant during Wednesday's practice with a knee injury. Anthony Barr, I would expect him to be back, especially going up against them and that run game with Deebo Samuel. If you remember the last time Anthony Barr played, He has some nightmares with the 49ers. The last time Anthony Barr played the 49ers, Jimmy Garoppolo pancaked him. And how do you get pancaked by Jimmy Garoppolo when you're twice his size? I don't know, but Anthony Barr has really fallen off and really hasn't been the same since that pancake from Jimmy Garoppolo. So with Anthony Barr going up against George Kittle. So George Kittle, another great blocker who will be blocking on Anthony Barr. I hope he can have a good game. And we really need him to be back because we don't want to see Blake Lynch and Nick Vigil starting at our outside linebacker positions because they will run the rock through our defense all game long. Vikings have averaged 127 rushing yards per game, and going up against Deebo Samuel, who's just lighting up defenses in the run and pass game. Eli Mitchell, the rookie as well. They got Jeff Wilson back, so a pretty good run game. Even without Raheem Mostert, they have a solid run game through and through. But 49ers injuries, some notable injuries. Tavarius Moore was ruled out with an Achilles injury, will likely be out the remainder of the season, has not been put on IR quite yet. JaMycal Hasty, running back, did not participate during Wednesday's practice with an ankle injury. Also with him, I wouldn't expect him to play. I mean, Eli Mitchell, Jeff Wilson will likely be splitting snaps. You also have the rookie Trey Sermon who can step in there as well. Josh Norman was a limited participant during Wednesday's practice with a rib injury. Josh Norman just hasn't been the same since Derrick Henry put him in his place. So Josh Norman likely won't even play anyways. Also, Laken Tomlinson, their starting left guard, was a limited participant with an ankle injury. Some questionable players to play right there. But 49ers injuries have been rough all season long. I mean, Raheem Mostert after the first week, went down in the first week, hasn't played since and won't play the rest of the season. Javon Kinlaw, 14th overall pick in 2020, also hasn't played. Dee Ford, Tavon Wilson, Mike McKinley, their starting right tackle, and then Mohamed Sanu as well. I mean, I didn't even know Mohamed Sanu was with the 49ers. I thought Mohamed Sanu retired. I didn't even know he's still in the NFL, but he's on IR, on the 49ers IR list as well. I'm sure Mohamed Sanu still wishes he played with the Falcons because they would use him. They would use him quite a bit if he played with the Falcons right now. So is Treadwell still with the Falcons? Who knows? I mean, Sanu, I didn't know he was still in the NFL, but he's on their IR list as well right there. So anyways, like I said, with the 49ers, they are a red hot team. Why? Deebo Samuel. No, their defense. Their defense is why they're 5-5 right now. That defense is unstoppable. Holding the Rams, Matthew Stafford in that offense to only 10 points. They scored 31 points in their defense as well. Last week, Jaguars only scored 10 points, and I believe they needed special teams in order to do so. So that Niners defense, even without Javon Kinlaw and Dee Ford, has been elite. With Eric Armstead and Nick Bosa rushing the passer on the outside, I mean, Kirk's not going to be safe. Kirk just isn't. And this is the biggest red flag in this matchup, is that pass rush. Because like we've seen with Kirk Cousins, under pressure, if he doesn't have an open receiver, he just doesn't move with his legs. That's the problem. People say Kirk can't move. He can move. And we saw it. We saw it at Washington. We saw it the first year he was with the Vikings. Kirk can move. He just doesn't. And with Eric Armstead and Nick Bosa rushing him on the outside, you have Fred Warner coming up the middle as well. I mean, how is Kirk going to be able to make plays? This really is going to test him because the last 2 weeks, yes, the last 2 weeks we played against some okay defenses. I mean, Joey Bosa a couple weeks ago, but the last 2 weeks, Kirk had a great week. Both weeks in a row, he had a great game. Yes, that's because of Justin Jefferson. Yes, that's because of Adam Thielen, but mainly because he had time inside the pocket. Mainly because the offensive line was able to buy him enough time to make plays. This is going to test that. Can Kirk Cousins play against an elite pass rushing defense? 49ers might not be the best secondary in football. Justin Jefferson's going to own whoever their undrafted free agent, what's his name? Kaywan Williams. Yep. They're starting corner. Justin Jefferson will be working on him. I mean, Jefferson's going to be open. Adam Thielen from inside the slot, he always finds a way to be open as well, especially in the red zone. You have Conklin on top of that. Like, Vikings are going to have open receivers. Thing with Kirk Cousins, he's not going to be comfortable. And the 49ers defense knows this. They just have to rush him all game long. It's going to rely on two things. It's going to rely on Kirk Cousins, how he can perform under pressure. If he's able to make plays with his legs, make plays with his arms, in order to convert first downs. And then you also have our tackles. Right now, Christian Darrisaw will be playing on, I believe he'll be playing on Eric Armstead. And then we have right tackle Brian O'Neill, the most underrated player in this Vikings team, who will be going up against Nick Bosa. So two excellent defensive ends who they have right there who will be rushing us all game long. And it's going to really struggle if Kirk Cousins can perform. This is going to test that theory about can Kirk Cousins perform, especially on an away game against that defense. I mean, that defense feeds off of the energy from the fans. Vikings fans will show up, as they do always when we play in California. If you remember 2 weeks ago, we played against the LA Chargers. Vikings fans really showed up, and they will likely again against the San Francisco 49ers. Vikings fans, the best fan base in football. Yes, I'm biased when I say that, but they will show up against this matchup. So we'll have Vikings fans there. But as a whole, this defense is going to feed off of the energy in the stadium. And Kirk Cousins, as a whole, from this past, just doesn't look good under pressure as a whole. I hope he can switch that. I hope that switch with the Vikings offense can stay on. You also have Dalvin Cook in the backfield. Okay, 49ers are not the best team against the run anymore. They don't have the best front four. With Javon Kinlaw out, obviously they don't have DeForest Buckner on their team anymore. So they're not the best team up the middle. They still have Fred Warner up the middle, but as a whole, they don't have the best front four that they used to have when we played them 2 years ago in the playoffs, on the divisional round of the playoffs, where the Vikings were not able to run the ball. Even with Dalvin Cook, we were not able to move the ball on the ground. That's going to be different in this game. As the 49ers defense might be one of the best teams against as a whole. I mean, one of the best defenses as a whole and teams in the NFL when it comes down to it. They're great at rushing the passer. That's what they do best. But you still have Dalvin Cook in the backfield. Okay, Dalvin Cook has been quiet the last couple weeks. That's mostly because he's being overshadowed by Justin Jefferson. And I credit this Vikings offense. I love the new identity that we're seeing. Clint Kubiak finally realized how to call an offense. Justin Jefferson just needed to complain. And Clint Kubiak realized what an offense is supposed to look like as we are revolving around the pass now. We still have Dalvin Cook in the run game. The run game is open against the 49ers defense. This is completely different than 2 years ago. And then you also have the pass game. So as a whole, Vikings have a lot of options here. It's just going to be questionable on how Kirk can perform under pressure because that's what the 49ers defense does best and what they've done best all season thus far. So how are the Vikings going to win this game if they do win? You got to continue the same offense. You have to have the same identity you did the last 2 weeks, where you are an explosive offense. When I say explosive offense, I'm talking 40-yard shots down the field, back in for first downs, second down, third down. I don't care what down it is. You are taking shots down the field because that's what we saw the last 2 weeks. What were the results? The Vikings won the last 2 weeks as underdogs against the Packers, who were the top ranked by NFL power rankings in the NFL, against the Chargers. Justin Herbert, who's one of the best MVP candidates right now. Vikings were able to contain him. Looked great as an offensive identity. And this new identity we have as an offense where we revolve around the pass, where Clint Kubiak realizes we have Justin Jefferson. This is the identity we have to bring week in and week out against the 49ers, against the Steelers. Going forward, we have to continue this pace. We have to ride this Vikings pace. Oh, yeah, and you have Dalvin Cook as your running back. Okay, so I'm not saying don't use Dalvin Cook. Obviously, he's a great running back. I'm saying be an explosive offense because this is what worked with the Vikings. This is why we lost against the Dallas Cowboys. This is why we lost against the Baltimore Ravens. We should have won both of those games if we were able to call the right plays. If we had the same offense that we should have ran all season long, we would be a 9-1 team right now. We would. We'd be a 9-1 team right now if we could continue to run the right offense. Potential 10-0 team right now if the Vikings were able to bring this offense week in and week out. Vikings, just keep the same explosive offense you had the last couple of weeks against the 49ers defense because this is a tough defense. And maybe the toughest defense we've played all season thus far, but they don't have a lockdown corner. So Justin Jefferson's going to be open all game. The pass game is going to be open. The run game up the middle should be open depending on how they play. I mean, it's really a question on how the 49ers run-stopping defense will look. But again, the pass game will likely be open. Even with Justin Jefferson and how great of a safety duo they have, Vikings pass game should be open. It's really going to rely on Kirk Cousins. And that's the biggest factor is Kirk Cousins because statistically, Kirk is the best quarterback in the NFL right now. Statistically, he is. We all know he's not the most talented quarterback, but he does the job. He's like Tannehill with the Titans right now. They don't have the talent that Mahomes might have, or Kyler Murray, dual threat quarterback, or Lamar Jackson, or Aaron Rodgers, or any of these players might have, but they do the job right. And that's what we need him to do in this game on an away game against San Francisco. It's not a primetime matchup. You're on an away game against one of the best pass rushing defenses. You just have to perform under pressure, and that is the biggest factor on if the Vikings win this game. It will have to do on how Kirk Cousins can look when he is pressured because that's what the 49ers will do to us all game long. Bold prediction of the week: the Minnesota Vikings will. No, CJ Ham will catch a touchdown in this game. CJ Ham has yet to receive a touchdown in the NFL so far. He did actually get a receiving touchdown, but it was called back because of a holding call that really didn't even have to do with the play. I don't know why they even called it, but CJ Ham will get a receiving touchdown in this game, as he gets one every year, and I believe it will be in this game. Obviously, 49ers have Kyle Juszczyk. I mean, CJ Ham, it's finally time for him to prove that he is better than Kyle Juszczyk, as Juszczyk has been an overrated fullback throughout his career. CJ Ham is the better back, one of better fullback, and hopefully he can show that in this matchup. So I believe he will make a touchdown catch, and it will be less than 10 yards because he's not a very fast guy. So I believe his touchdown reception will just be in the end zone, kind of like how the Vikings have used Tyler Conklin as a whole. Minnesota Vikings, final prediction for this game: the Vikings will win this game. It's so tough. Like, I haven't had more of an issue about predicting a game because it really has to do with how Kirk Cousins is going to look under pressure. He hasn't looked great so far under pressure, but in this matchup, how Kirk Cousins has played, it really, I'm assuming that he's going to continue and ride the stride that the Vikings offense has been able to perform. Vikings final prediction: Vikings will win by 4 points on a 24-20 win over San Francisco 49ers as underdogs, winning 3 straight games as underdogs. Minnesota Vikings offense is here. They have arrived, and this Vikings offense should look good in this game. Vikings defense is going to look bad. They make every opposing offense look good, but it really is going to come down to how Kirk Cousins can perform under pressure. That is the bottom line if the Vikings win this game.